In today's episode, I sit down with Erick Slabaugh, an entrepreneur whose journey didn't start with a vision. It started with a crisis. At Beats Working, we talk a lot about what happens when you don't really have a choice, when the path forward isn't clear, but standing still isn't an option. Erick shares how, at 19 years old, he stepped into a failing family business because he was called to. That experience shaped the way he thinks about leadership, growth, and what it means to build something that lasts. It's a conversation about responsibility, about resilience, about the long, often invisible road between survival and success.
Welcome to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Work, hosted by Dan T. Rogers. This show invites you into conversations that go deeper than job titles and hustle. It's about rethinking what work is for and how we can design it to serve our lives, rather than the other way around. Here, we'll talk with leaders, makers, and thinkers who are doing more than earning a paycheck. They're getting paid to practice life.
Excited to have Erick Slabaugh on the show today. Erick, thanks for joining us today.
Truly a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So and I say this genuinely, this is not sarcastic, this is reality. In one of the circles that we share, I think almost everyone globally knows who you are. But if they're not already in that circle, for folks that don't already know who you are, Erick, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction as to who you are and what you do for fun all day?
Well, I can only assume that we're talking about the entrepreneurs.
Yes, we are talking about if someone is not in EO. If they're in EO, they know Erick. If they're not in EO, they may or may not know Erick.
Well, and was once called the Young Entrepreneurs Organization.
Yes,
Fortunately, it's not still called that, or we wouldn't be in it.
Yeah, we would both be out.
Yeah, we'd both be out. Yeah, so I've got a couple of different companies, and one of them actually we're sitting in right now is the podcast studio here at the 76th floor of the Columbia Tower Club. But the other two, Absco Solutions, is an electronic life safety and security company that was started by my parents in 1976. Both my parents have now passed. Started by my parents and Jimmy Upjohn of the Upjohn pharmaceutical family many, many years ago. I came on board when the company was on the verge of failure. At the age of 19, when I was given the choice of re-upping for the UW and my parents would sell their house, or I could come make a go of a failing family business. So that was exciting. And then the other
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. And I'm the predominant owner of that business now. And then the other is a software as a service ERP SaaS model, cloud-based for electrical contractors.
Great.
So which was born out of Absco Solutions. So
yeah. So I know we know each other a little bit. So maybe you alluded to it. So take us back to when you were 19 and a little bit more color around the choice of. Obviously, we know, based on what you told us, it turned out okay, but it didn't sound like it was maybe... Was it your first choice, or was it just the choice you made?
Oh, I don't even know if it was a choice. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, when your father says, or, we'll sell the family home, or you can come make a go at the family business, that's not really a choice.
Yeah.
I was living at home. So okay, so what I just heard is I don't have a place to live, and I don't know how I'm paying for college.
Yep.
So I don't know that that was really much of a choice. And I didn't understand how to really run a business or how to lead anything, but I did understand math. I mean, I was taking analytical geometrical calculus at the time. The company was negative $78,000 owner's equity and 3 to 2 payables to receivables. I look at that now and I go, oh, wow, the equivalent of like $750,000 in debt and, just an utter upside down disaster. So, it was, and interest rates back then, it's like everybody today is like, oh my gosh, interest rates are so high. It's like, no, interest rates back then, if you could borrow money, it was like 17, 18%.
I was going to say it was probably at least in the teens somewhere. I vaguely remember that.
It was in the teens.
Yeah,
it was crazy. My first meeting with a banker at 19, 20 years old was, to get a line of credit for $10,000. And he put his arm around me and my shoulders and walked me out of the bank and said, I can't loan you money. You're going to be out of business in the next 90 days. And it was like, that's not an option. My parents will lose their house. They've personally guaranteed everything. And it's like, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It was like 4 years later, he was in our office soliciting our business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was probably the least magnanimous thing I've ever done. I walked him out of the office and I said, I'm not going to do business with you, but why don't you have your boss come by? Maybe she and I can have a conversation. I knew her.
Yeah.
Her name was Marilyn, and I actually got along with her pretty well. So we eventually ended up doing business with the bank. But anyway, yeah.
So maybe take us through that first 4 years or first 4 weeks, or what do you remember from just walking in and basically said no real experience and just trying to figure stuff out.
I remember getting Seattle University as our first customer. I remember figuring out that we needed campus environments where we had recurring work, because I was our lead salesperson, our lead project manager, our general manager, our journeyman electrician. Like, I was doing everything. And I didn't have time to go out and sell. So I needed a place that, as long as I gave them a reasonable price, just would hand me work. And so I realized campus, like, I couldn't go out and do residential because you had to go out and find another house and a new homeowner every time. And so I needed campus environments. And so Seattle U was the first client. And strangely enough, a gentleman named Breon, who was my Little League baseball coach, was like, oh, Eric, yeah, I remember you. You're a great guy. And yeah, why don't you come do some work for us? And then we did some work, and he's like, I really like the work you're doing, and here's another project. And so that probably actually saved the company. And Seattle Pacific University ended up being our second customer. And if it weren't for those two clients, we wouldn't have made it. And the nice thing was they were generous enough and kind enough to allow us to do the work and literally collect a check at the end of the week, because we had to collect that check. When you talk about cash flow, we had to collect the check, deliver the check to or FedEx or UPS read the check to our vendors to get the next lot of equipment released, because we owed money to our vendors.
Sure.
That was, 60, 90 days past due, for them to release the equipment to us so that we could continue to get the next week's worth of work to do.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. And I remember at 21, I had acquired 10% of the company, and then I borrowed $8,800 from my grandfather at 10% interest. And people were like, oh my gosh, your grandfather was making money off you. And it's like, no, he sold some oil shares that he was getting a 12% return on.
Yeah,
so he took a haircut. And lent me some money. And I bought my first house. It was $6,600 down. And I bought 25% of the company for $2,500 from somebody who thought they were getting out from under. Little did they know that if you signed for anything, you still owed the debt until it was cleared. And I brought in, my then best friend, Dan Norton, from when I was young, from junior high best friend, and said, look, if we get to $0 owner's equity, I'll give you 10% of the company, but here's the deal. We're going to be working on salary. We're going to be working as many hours as we have to turn this thing around. And we're probably going to be making less than minimum wage when everything's said and done. And he's like, wow, I don't have anything better to do. And maybe we can save your parents' house, and why not? And it took us 6 years to get to $0 owner's equity. We started making money every year, but it took 6 years to get things turned around. And then eventually we put a majority share buyout agreement in place with my parents, and then bought everything out. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we know other entrepreneurs who have the hustle that might have just went and sold residential, and those people probably would have made it work in that way, in a different way.
Yeah.
But what do you think it was that you could see that the campus was such a better opportunity? I mean, in hindsight, when you explain it, of course, it makes perfect sense. But all the other alarm companies out there were not, they're all banging on individual doors, right? So what do you think you were seeing differently? Can you speak to that?
I think if you're not starting in a hole, if you're not starting in a hole, the residential could obviously, if you got a couple of bucks in the bank and you can afford to float some things and you've got credit with your vendors, the residential thing absolutely could work. And a lot of companies did really well with that and built up good recurring revenue and all that. that was not an option.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed to know that we had good cash flow terms with our clients, that I didn't have to negotiate each and every time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to see, and I think it's just one of those examples of sort of leaning into what's there and really designing into what it is, as opposed to, well, I think this is the answer that we want, or more like, what do we really have to have? And sometimes less options ends up being better.
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to pull it off. Don't get me wrong. But,
yeah. Well, and it really focuses the mind, right? Like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to get really good at it.
Yeah. And I am, I have similar but different, but I've had to unwalk an ugly balance sheet before. So I understand the long walk that can be. How did you deal with, that first 4 to 6 years where you're obviously having success? It's cash positive, you're profitable, but you're sinking everything back in to try to fix it. So how did you sort of sort that out with it's not two separate lives, but a little bit it's sort of like two separate lives, right? So what was that like? Because I think that's one of those entrepreneurial journeys that doesn't get there's a handful of people that just hit a series of home runs, but my story has some strikeout streaks in it. So, how did you deal with that? That's another piece of adversity that is...
there were 100, I think our longest week, I think we had a 120-hour week, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. There wasn't a lot of sleep that week, but we had a bunch of Bank of America banks that we were having to get online in a short period of time. And we were just working around the clock to get it done and to hit deadlines. And we couldn't afford to bring additional people on. And it was just nuts. I mean, so, the things that I could do in my youth, I certainly wouldn't even attempt to do now.
Sure.
So some of it was just crazy. And the other aspect, when you say, it wasn't all cash flow positive. It wasn't, and there were some, there are those $50,000 MBA moments where it was like, oh, well, that was a learning experience.
Yes.
Yay. It's funny when you can go to school and learn some good lessons, and then you can just go to work and learn some good lessons. And I've definitely had those really big ticket item moments where it's like, oh, well, wow, I can't believe we just spent that money on that. That was a fascinating experience.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely convinced that for most of us, there are some truly brilliant people out there. I don't have to worry about being one of them, but that can really compress time. Yeah. But I think there's just a certain amount of heavy lifting to get your own understanding and your own wisdom. And so you can go to school and it costs you some money, but it costs you some time. Yeah. Or you can start your own business and it takes a lot less time and just costs you more money.
Right, exactly.
It's the same. Yeah. It's the same equation. It's just which way do you want to go, right?
Yeah. And sometimes, and sometimes we can go back to school or we can join the entrepreneurs organization. Like EO has definitely compressed time for me. Like
100%.
Thank the Lord that came along because. And funny enough, we're sitting here at the Columbia Tower Club, kind of bring things full circle. I got recruited by Phil Erickson and Michael Miller and Mark Blumenthal to join EO downstairs on 75 here at the Columbia Tower Club, December of '97.
So maybe we can jump into that a little bit and tell us a little bit about what that was like in the early days. And I will tell you, I joined in 2006, which is almost a full decade after you. And when I joined, it was seemingly still pretty much a secret. And I will say now, 20 years later, it does seem like a lot more. Globally, it's definitely known. People don't give me the dog ear look and stuff. So tell us about what it was like in the 90s.
But in 2006, people look at you.
Yeah, I was like, what?
You joined what? Yeah. What is the name of the cult you joined?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, it's a business organization. Yeah, 97. Got invited to come up here and let me say this.
Well, let's do this too. So Anchor. Yeah. So when, and I don't think we got this. So you were 19, but not to pry. But what year was that, Eric?
Yeah. Okay. So let me age myself
for the math fans out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so 1987, for those of you who are able to do math.
There you go.
Yeah, 1987 is June of 1987 when when I got the phone call from my dad,
Mm-hmm.
freshman at the University of Washington.
So 10 years later, a decade into the journey.
We finally hit the $1 million mark.
Yeah, but you know, $1 million in 97
Yeah.
was a lot. I mean,
A lot more than it is today.
yeah, well, and especially the way that you were slugging it out too. Like, I mean, we know people that their business models are such, they're just like, that's a rounding error, right? So like for what you were doing in 97, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's probably a big deal anytime, but it's definitely a big deal back then.
It felt like an achievement back then, and it felt nice to not owe the world everything, and to know that my parents were a lot more stable by then. And yet everybody and their brothers like, you want to join what? And you want to spend how much money on what? And why are you doing this? And it's like, because I don't have the skill set to take this organization to the next level. And I need to develop those skills. Like, I didn't finish my college career, and I'd kind of like to invest in myself enough to know that I can grow this organization. So yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, first and foremost, talk about imposter syndrome. I get on the elevator, and now I will say this, back up a couple of years, actually several years, in 97-ish, I was in this building while it was in construction. Maybe it was 96. I was in this building, or excuse me, 87, 86. I was in this building while it was under construction. My then journeyman brought me up here, put a hard hat on me, brought me up here as if we were on the crew. We
Sure.
were.
Yeah.
And we came up to like the 60-something floor when it was still open and there was just cable and plastic. It's oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
What a great view. But then I get on the elevator and I press the members only button, and all I could think is, they're going to kick me out of here as soon as I get off the elevator. And so it was one of those moments where it's total imposter syndrome. But I get off the elevator and lo and behold, go to the meeting and hear about this amazing organization, the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, and hear what it's about and what everybody does. And it probably took another 3-4 years before I really truly understood the value and benefit, even though I became a member and a participant. I loved Phil and Mark's sales pitch when they came out. We think you're going to make an amazing member, so much so that we'd like you to be the treasurer on the board this next summer. It's like, little did I know there were only 30 members in the entire organization for Seattle, and they just needed somebody to serve as the treasurer.
Yeah.
So,
but there's something to be said. So in other organizations I've been in, also we try to do this at work too. When someone steps forward and joins, it's super important to give them something to do.
Yeah.
And I used to tell people in some of the other stuff we've done in the nonprofit side, I'm like, if you have to give them your job for a little while, just like they just got here, like they're not going to be more passionate than this if we don't stoke that fire. Yeah. So yeah,
definitely worth doing. Yeah, back then though, it was, people talk about global. Global was like, I don't know, 40, 50 members in Mexico, several hundred in Canada, because Canada had grown very quickly. And then maybe 40, 50 members in, New Zealand, Australia, and Asia, right? Nobody in Europe, literally nobody in Europe.
That's
Absolutely
interesting.
Nobody.
Any insight on that, you think, or just it just didn't?
Well, the Bill Trimble, the Trimble Award. Bill is out of Vancouver, BC, and Bill and Peter Thomas are the people who really went around and got chapters off the ground. Seattle being one of the really early chapters, and because they literally went down the West Coast, and then from that, Vancouver and Seattle and San Francisco, et cetera, people went to Asia, got Asia chapters, got some members, not really chapters necessarily. Some people in Mexico, and it kind of went across the.
That's interesting. Yeah, and so much has gone the other way historically, or it came from Europe and beachhead on the East Coast. Yeah. I don't think I ever knew that. That's interesting. It's super interesting. Yeah.
So it's when I joined, there were 800 some odd members globally. Put big quotes around that.
And just to give some people some perspective, so roughly how many chapters do you think? I know we're at 20,000 something members, right? But how many chapters now?
Oh, I don't know.
Your guess has to be better than mine, but it's 20 something thousand members
I think
now, right?
a couple hundred chapters,
Yep,
and you know, and in 90 or so countries. And yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But the global reach is, like, you know, and EO at this point is probably the best travel agency in the world.
Sure.
I love traveling with EO.
Yeah, one of our chapter mates served as president, and so he met some folks down from Brazil, and then they headed up here, and we got to host them, well, I guess it was last year at this point, but just absolutely amazing to be able to meet 35 business people from Brazil that were just, we want to come see a different place and try to experience, you know, the local business and local environment. And they're just, you know, incredible people. And I know that's a lot of your story. You've been all over.
All five Brazil chapters were here. And then they hosted the EO Rio University, which was absolutely unbelievable. The learning was amazing. Some great speakers on AI, some great speakers on the way the brain works, the great speakers on relationships. Great. We got to tour Maracana, the soccer. I got to take a shot on one of the Maracana practice goalies.
Nice.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. And they were such great hosts.
Yeah.
We're right on Copacabana Beach at the Fairmont.
That's so
just
cool.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you joined EO. They got you in on the board right away, and then that's all you did. And then you never served again.
No, I didn't do anything after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe, and it's not so much I want to like highlight from let's brag about what Erick did in service to EO, but maybe like what you gave and then what you got out of it personally, just in terms of the enrichment and all of that. Because we've talked offline about this before, about how much that you've gotten out of that.
Yeah, you know,
it's grossly inconvenient. I mean, it sounds on the outside, there's some fun that happens, but you still have a business to run. You still have a life.
Yeah.
You still have these other things.
Yeah.
And it's grossly inconvenient on some level, right? And then you got to deal with other knuckleheads like me and other members, and so.
You know, it's funny. I think there are times that the people around me would say that I didn't do both well. Right?
Sure.
There are times that I think my family or my management team would say that I gave too much to EO, and at the same time, I think that I would not have grown the organization to the level that, or either organization, had I not been doing what I was doing in EO. So I did 2 tours on the global board eventually with EO, and I chaired the YEO Seattle University first and foremost, and then served as a program chair, and then served on the global board, and served on the global board again, and then eventually got to start the Global Leadership Academy, which was a privilege. Got to recruit Warren Rustand to be the dean of the faculty for the program, and George Gann and Warren have continued to grow that program globally to the RLAs, the regional leadership academies, and all that. And I think it's made a huge impact on leaders around the world, which has been wonderful. So I'm proud of the legacy that has created. I've done a lot of strategy summits and things of that nature. So, but at this point, I'm not doing anything. I've really pulled back on all of my service. I've done a lot of things in Seattle as well, Seattle Rotary, and, worked up to VP of programs in Seattle 4, and, helped start the Seattle Fire Foundation as the treasurer, and just, I've done a number of things, but at this point I'm kind of at that point in my career where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the next few years and just kind of settle down and just focus on the businesses.
Yeah. So, and it's a lot that you've done in any one of those. But if you were going to say, what are some of the similarities that you saw in terms of the things that you got to? So one of the things that I feel like work does, just in general, and certainly nonprofit work or service work does, is it gives me an opportunity to practice the person that I want to become.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of the lessons that you got to learn? And it's the bullets are real. Like, I mean, people care, and like there's stuff on the line. I don't want to make it sound like that, but it's not maybe necessarily, it's different than if it's with our family or something like that, right? So what were some of the things, any golden nuggets that you took away from any of the service?
I think learning to truly listen to people and be present in the moment and let me qualify this. There are times I let myself down. Mm-hmm. There are times I miss the mark.
Sure.
Even now. So I don't want this to sound like, hey, I got it all figured out, or wow, after X number of years, I've suddenly gotten to the point that I've reached some level of perfection. Mm-hmm. That would be such a falsehood.
Yeah.
I think when I was young, I was prone to yelling at people, and I was a really terrible leader. I mean, I was really not a good leader. Mm-hmm. I led out of fear, not inspiration, and not direction, and not values alignment, and not mission alignment. Mm-hmm. I led out of force of will, and you're going to do what I told you because I pay you. Mm-hmm. That's not a great way to lead. Mm-hmm. And so it really took, I got my mentor Torstein because of EO, and when he came alongside me, one of the things he really focused on is, what is the company's core values? What are your core values, right? Mm-hmm. And Warren really reinforced, what are your core values? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of are you listening to the people in your life? Do you understand what their goals and desires are? Mm-hmm. I just had a really deep conversation with one of my team members where he called me and he asked, are you okay if I do this thing on Saturdays that's a paid gig and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to be the reason why you don't do that, but I got to ask you, what is the thing you're trying to feed by doing that, and how is that going to impact your family? Mm-hmm. And before you say yes to it, just realize you're saying no to something else. Mm-hmm. And are you okay with not being at your kid's Little League game to be able to go do that? Mm-hmm. Right? And those are the questions that when I was his age, I wasn't necessarily asking of myself.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think there are some things I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser than I was then. Mm-hmm. And I guess these days I'm trying to pass some of that along to the people around me that I don't know that, I think we get some of that out of the give and take of being in those volunteer moments, of being around those people that I will say this, I don't think I would have ever been exposed to I would never have met Bill Gates Sr. I would never have met Phil Smart if not for Seattle Rotary, right? I would have never met Torstein or Warren Rustan but for serving at the global level in EO. I would have never met my fellow board members but for serving at the global level. And those are some of the most cherished relationships I have in my life. And Jesus de la Garza, he and I text with some regularity, and he's my brother. Love the guy.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, I think, one of the things that, I joined because I woke up one day and I was basically the coolest person in my life.
Right.
And,
right.
I mean,
what a terrible place to be.
No,
too, right?
and in fairness, that wasn't really quite the story. But my MO is like, I'm in the middle of the pack working my way. And I just got way too close to the front.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to find a different pack. And I definitely found that in EO and some other places. And by the grace of the boss, I don't really want to be anybody else. But I have met countless people in EO and other places where I'm like, oh, there's some attributes that I'd like to aspire to. Probably look a little different if I try to put them into play. But I didn't even know some of that stuff existed. You know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't even know that you could do some of these things, right? It's just like I had the skill set or the lack of skill that I had to be able to just produce the results I produced,
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you think about your story about where you came from and all that, it's not, I'm not trying to give you a free pass, and my story isn't too different from yours either. We've got to be responsible for what we've done, but it also makes a little bit of sense based on our age. And I just think back, so I have 8 and 10-year-old boys, and they play hockey. And I'm going to keep this reasonably generic because I don't want to take anybody down accidentally. But there's one sort of coach in the area. He's actually your age. He's right, and a year older than me, and he's old school. And and I joke with him all the time. I'm like, you would have been the nicest coach I ever played for.
Right.
As an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like the nicest coach.
Yeah.
Because it's just so different. Doesn't make it right. It just makes it wildly different. I didn't much like leading that way. You know what I mean? If I could have gotten away with it and gotten a good night's sleep, I would have happily done it. My problem was I thought I was an asshole, and I didn't like being an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, shit, I got to learn how to a different way to do this, because I'm not making enough money not to sleep. You know what I mean? There's not enough money on the table. Right.
Well, seriously.
Yeah.
And to be able to look myself in the mirror.
Totally.
Right? Like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's funny because people are like, you could make more money if you, no, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I like to be able to look myself in the mirror. I like to be able to sleep. I like to, I'm good.
Yep.
Good.
So we talked a little bit about EO. Mentioned early on in the business, and obviously you still have it. So spoiler alert, looks like it turned out at least reasonably well. You did reference that you sort of the SaaS business emerged from that.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us a little bit about how Seattle Pacific, Grow Up, Apps Go, and then to the point where all of a sudden, hey, we have to start another entity here. We've got a different offering maybe.
Yeah. So 2000, I went to the Birthing of Giants program. Vern Harnish was still leading it back then. It's the EMP, the Entrepreneurial Masters program today.
Yeah.
Back then, it was the Birthing of Giants.
They switched schools too, didn't they?
No, it's still at MIT.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
still at
They
MIT.
switched schools.
Yeah,
I was like, they switched the name, they switched schools.
They did switch the name because Inc. magazine had the naming rights, and there was a there was a thing. So, but it is still at MIT. There is still a partnership with MIT. It's still at Endicott House at MIT, and great program. Absolutely, any entrepreneur who can get into it, absolutely worth doing. 3-year like 4 or 5 days a year for 3 years. Just a phenomenal program. And I want to say it was the second year of the program. Vern asked the question, what is the industry problem? That if you spent $1 million, because again, back then $1 million was actually a real sum of money. Now anything that, like, $1 million is a B. If it's not a B, like, what's the point? But back then $1 million actually meant something. What is that industry problem that if you spent $1 million and you solved it, it would be $1 billion solution? Now it's like, well, if it's not $1 trillion solution, like, what is the point? And all I could think was, like, hey, actually, I thought a lot of things. Hey, I don't have a spare $1 million to spend right now.
Exactly.
I could probably afford $50,000 to $100,000 a year for the next decade. And our industry does not have any unified information system, and we're the most grossly under-automated industry in the world. It's like construction is the most behind the times thing there is. And so brought a couple of people together and started working on something just for us, actually. Really didn't care about the rest of the industry that much, much as I wanted to solve some problems for us. And in the first year, we solved a couple of problems and actually were able to save about $140,000 a year just in salary. Like it was actually pretty impressive. So it was like, oh, apparently I can spend $150,000 a year now.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was kind of cool. And so we started doing that and eventually started growing that. And then 2016, we went out and actually found a customer and realized, oh, we built it just for us. We need to do a bunch of stuff to make it something we could actually take to market, including making it cloud-based and a bunch of other things. And then went out and raised a couple of dollars and really took it to market.
So how was obviously share at whatever level that you want to, and I'm not digging for anything in particular, but how was that in raising money and having that relationship with investors? Because I think based up to this point, prior to that point, you're really more answering to yourself and to the checkbook balance. Different, better?
Yeah, I mean, definitely different. Yeah, I think having investors isn't so bad when it's all still privately held, and it's not, we're not taking venture capital. It's all angel, and they're all super minority. Granted, minority shareholders can still create challenges if they choose to, but they all understand where we're at, and they all understand what we're doing, and it's been good. It's been decent. We're making progress, and we're having fun with it. So, yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So hasn't been bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's one of those where I'm not sure everyone always understands. They're like, oh, I'm going to go round up some money. Like, first of all, it's a little harder to round up some money than you think.
It's a lot harder to round up.
Yeah,
some money.
and then you're in relationship with them, and they really pay attention because all they have is money and time to look over your shoulder what you're doing.
Yeah, and everybody,
which is all fair, by the way. Like I don't.
Everybody wants a return on their money.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah. It's like we are in a relationship now. Yeah.
Yes. Believe it or not.
Yes.
I'd actually like my core capital back at some point.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I had a business partner for a little while, and it was much more of a sort of side hobby, and it was a rounding error in his overall portfolio and all that. But he was a brilliant, brilliant guy. And I actually involved him, I think, way more than he wanted to be involved. He was back east. I was on the phone with him all the time because, I knew that if he took the call, I would get his attention and I would get his thinking. And he would definitely push back, not in a bad way, but just in a way to sort of test my thinking and all that. And I think I thought, gosh, I would really, really, really want to have a board like this, but I don't know that I eventually, he was much older and he was getting older at a place where I was like, hey, we have to, I love your family, but I don't want to be, we had been partners for 15 years or something. I'm like, we can't backfill these conversations with somebody else. But I thought, gosh, it was really, really valuable to have somebody with that much experience who understood the business, that cared, that all that. And, but I'm not sure that that's the typical quote unquote business partner investor relationship. I think.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Tor, my mentor, actually is on the board of both companies, both FCP and EBSCO. And he will kick me in the butt when I need it. He's a mentor. He's a dear friend. He and his wife are both really dear friends. I mentioned before this that I'm going to be moving to Austin here later this year. Mona actually picked my house out for me.
Oh, geez, that's great.
Yeah, it's across the street and 3 doors down.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, funny enough. Yeah. I warned them that they may find me sitting on their back porch waiting for them to get up. And Mona said, no problem, I'll make coffee and bring up some fresh croissants. So it's like, well, I can't ask for anything more.
That's awesome.
But to your point, he's a long time YPO Gold member, served on the board, run multiple events around the world, started the Deal Exchange. Like the dude's, he ran the largest shipyard on the West Coast, owned the largest shipyard on the West Coast. The guy's he's brilliant, and he will kick my butt when I need it. He will put ointment on my, he will salve my wounds when I need it. He's one of those people. Yeah.
So what, if I was going to pull out a little bit of what I hear in your story as we talk about it today, is it's open and receptive to learning. Do you think?
We have to be, always. I mean, the day we stop learning, what's the point?
Well,
I lay down and die, right?
I'm with you on that, but I don't know that we have to, because I certainly have met some people that seem like they don't have to.
I don't understand that. I really don't understand it. I have this document called Me Work. It's like every test you could possibly take. And it's just this compilation of, the disc profile and the PSIU and Culture Index and everything else. I mean, like everything under the sun, Myers-Briggs and everything else. And it's just an opportunity for me to understand me as well as I possibly can and figure out where I can be a slightly better human being. It's not to say that I hit the mark, and it's not to say I'm as disciplined as I need to be. And you know, like if I were as disciplined as I need to be, I'd be 40 pounds lighter. Let me just say that right now. I'd be in better physical condition. But I'm working on that too. So, you know, like, there you go. But I think when we give up on learning and we give up on growing, like, you know, we become stagnant. And stagnant sucks. Like, it's not fun. There's so many more parts of the world I want to see, and so many cultures I want to understand, and so many more friends to make. And,
yeah. Well, I've been sharing this one for a long time, and I believe it's still true, unfortunately. I'm like, hey, this is the best version of me there's ever been. Just be happy you didn't know me 20 years ago.
Amen.
I mean, I'd like to think I still got a little bit more up in my game. You know what I mean? I'm definitely, I'm with you. I don't think I've even remotely, I got way more to learn, but I'm hopeful that that's still a possibility. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, yeah.
I watched Tor, and I know that there's things that he's never going to do the way he did. Like, you know, he was a competitive downhill skier. He's not going to do that again. But in his 80s, he was skiing with Ted Ligety. Yeah. I'm like, I just look at that and I go, that's nuts. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. I'm never going to do that. Yeah. But I would like to know that I am growing the way he is. Yeah. Like, he just started running a medical company. I'm like, Thor, what the hell, dude? What are you doing? Yeah. But he's having a blast. Yeah. And I'm just like, I love you, man. You're my inspiration. You're, you know, like, I hope to be like you when I grow up. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of our time. So maybe a couple little wrap up questions. So if and none of these are put you on the spot. So if there's something there, great. But if not, we'll just cut it to the floor. But but some of these I really do like as as questions, because when people drop the bombs, they drop them. So, best piece of advice that you've ever received or given? Wow, best piece. Understand the dreams and aspirations of the people you care most about.
Wow, that's good. And this is really for my own ego more than Erick's, but I've been on some podcasts where they give you the questions, and Erick did not get these questions, just so you know. So this is just him riffing off the top. So, worst piece of advice that you've either given or received?
Yeah, we should go drinking at 3 a.m.
Or play poker with a guy whose initials are JW.
Well, actually,
or AL, or a whole bunch of other people.
Bunch of them. Actually,
and maybe drink before and after that.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, no, yeah. Actually, anything after midnight's probably not a good idea. But
exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So then, what? And again, not priding for anything. If there's something that are great, but what challenge are you excited to be taking on right now?
You know, I am in the process of retooling. I just took over the COO role in Absco, and it sounds crazy because I haven't been in that role ever, actually. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of things that I am retooling the way I want it. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Why didn't we do that before?" It's like, we're a 40-some-odd-year-old company, and everybody's like, "That's brilliant." Yeah. And it's not that it's stroking my ego. It's like, yeah, this just is so much more simple and so much more straightforward. And like, the team members are like, "Oh yeah, this is cleaner. We should do it that way."
Cool.
So
awesome.
That part's rewarding. To make people's lives easier and better, and to serve our customers better, it's just fun. It's cool.
Great.
So,
any wins along those lines you want to share, or that you can share? I don't want to pry.
It's little things. It's finding a report that just by adding some color to it. It's funny. A year and a half ago, I was sitting next to somebody in a play, and he was telling me about what he's doing at college. He's in the data visualization piece. And EO had just had the president of the Seahawks showing us all of their data visualization stuff, right? Chuck Arnold had like how they look at ticket prices that are being sold in the secondary market. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing stuff. And this young man's telling me about how they're doing data visualization. And I'm like, oh, I've got 2 companies and one of them's a software company and I'm really interested in that. Would you like to, have you thought about doing an internship with a software? And he's like, oh, I'd love to do that. Like, great. Well, I'm willing to pay for it out of my pocket just to see what we might do.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, that'd be amazing. So brought him in. Everybody's looking at me like, oh, great. Erick's a lunatic. Like,
yeah. Erick went to some seminar and now came back with a vision bomb. Yeah, right. Totally. I've done that. Yeah.
Well, which is why I'm paying for it out of my own pocket.
No,
I didn't want anybody to go like Erick's wasting investor money or Erick's
I hear you.
Deviating from ABSCO's core mission or whatever. Like, I just didn't want to listen to it. But so, and lo and behold, we created this thing that is this graphic pie chart that has completely transformed the way we're managing labor inside of ABSCO, but it's also a core offering inside of FCP. It's like, holy smokes, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think maybe what this is, and something that maybe we both share, is I don't actually care how many zeros are behind the win. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like to, I mean, it's nice when there's a lot, but I just like it when we just get better. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's what I heard in that story, which is great. That's, awesome. If you were going to leave a message for either the listeners or just for future entrepreneurs or humans or whatever, any message that you'd want to pass on?
Well, if it was for future entrepreneurs, it would be join EO. You can't make a better decision, and find a good forum, even if it isn't on your first try, especially if it's not on your first try. Yeah.
So I think I know at least a portion of the answer as to why, but for someone who isn't more familiar with EO, why would you say that?
We're all going to go through some real struggles, and having the opportunity to share our lives with other entrepreneurs who are also going through, share experiences with other entrepreneurs and deal with what is going on in life is invaluable. And knowing that we're not alone. I mean, it's funny because a lot of EO members are like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was unique. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was fill in the blank.
Yep.
None of my other friends understood.
Yep.
Right. And then all of a sudden you find out, oh no, I'm not only not alone, I'm not unique, but there's a whole world. There's 20,000 people around the world and so many more once I understand that entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs.
Sure. No, that's great. Yeah. And then I'll also just put the general plug in there too, that I got all that. And then I also got a bonus in terms of, I saw demonstrations of what different characteristics and attributes and just all sorts of things to aspire from, and actually very few when you consider how large the organization is and some of they let me in, there's very few sort of negative.
You're a quality member, so quit denigrating. Self-denigration is not necessary.
But actually very few examples of what not to do. But I don't want to get too deep into it, but just some, I think not only to be able to share experience and have a sense of camaraderie, but also to help expose blind spots of your own potential that, at least for me personally, I would have had to unlocked someplace else. I have complete confidence that I would not have unlocked it.
Yeah. No, that is absolutely true. That ability to realize, Warren had this statement, one of our missions in life should be to see people not for who they are right now, but who they can become. And EO, I think, helps us to see ourselves
100%.
Not for who we are, but who we can become.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. And it's not surprising that it was said by you and Warren.
R&D, one of my favorite things about EO, rip off and deploy.
Okay, so just while we're doing the love fest on Warren, so he absolutely killed, when I say he killed me, I was like, I don't know, there was 60, 80 people. It was a Seattle event that he was speaking at. So however many people were there. he killed me, and I fell in love with him all at the same moment. I didn't actually know who he was, but and he was giving his talk, and I was already hook, line, and sinker. But the absolute nail in the coffin, he's just like, look, if you're working 60, 80 hours a week, you're just not that good.
Right.
It's just dude, that's my whole MO. Right. What are you talking about?
Right. Quantity is not quality.
Yeah, he's just like, you're just not that good.
You're right.
Yeah, he's like, maybe work on getting better. Right. And I was just like, if you weren't so right, I would be really mad.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's just incredible human. So much like that. Also seeing the potential that people can become is also falls into the lexicon of other things that he throws out there. So awesome. Well, Erick, we could go on longer, and maybe we will do a second episode if you're up for it. But I really enjoyed our time today. Thank you so much for...
Truly a pleasure to spend time with you. Love and adore you, man.
Yeah, you too.
Good to be here.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Work. If something resonated, share the episode and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, clarity isn't something you find. It's something you practice. And getting paid to practice life beats working to get paid.